Started yet.
Decided to move to Guam.
Maybe thought.
Let's do it. You moved to Guam. We're gonna. That's already going.
You're gonna move to Guam. All you gotta do is do your cross country solo face check, your final face check.
Oh,
Then get your PPL. Then
like that's just got a couple steps ahead.
okay, that's really good.
This
Would have been more like
What?
That's I mean, I get this. Or you could just have
Where's weeks 9 and 10?
yeah.
The fuck?
So I'm trying to go to Santa Barbara. There's not a lot of visual wavelengths.
We're in week 8, right?
So week 8. Alright, I still don't have to pick it up.
Alright.
You're cynical.
Am I tripping, or there used to be weeks 9 and 10 as well? Yeah, okay. Weeks 9, 10. Well, where the fuck are they?
Oh, it says week 9 is just a review of week 1
Yeah,
through 8.
you just make sure you know what that is. And you pass it. I'll see if that's. I need to teach you how to. I'll see my survival.
Unstructured.
Okay. Yes, right.
Oh, shoot. That's fucking. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Mike goals. All right, Michael. See how it is. How's everyone's 4th of July weekend?
Good.
I already heard about John's cool trip to Baja. Can anyone beat that?
doing that in like 3 weeks.
Are you?
Nice. Where you going?
Bob.
Like where?
Oh,
That was nice.
Yeah.
Or
personal.
You got really
personal? Okay.
Just
My
Fight's
reasons
over?
are personal.
no, just like
you stretch
for work.
Yeah.
Once it's done, okay, put them on, let's go.
Nice.
Yeah.
you go to like a resort.
No, I might get an Airbnb, but we'll see. Yeah.
It is nice not to cook or
Sure.
spend the entire day drunk because there's free alcohol all the time, all
That's true.
over the place in the sun. You just start reading and take a nap. Oof. Oof.
Hell yeah.
My car thermometer got flipped.
That's what people do at resorts. They eat food, go to the beach, have a 10:30 in the morning cocktail or two, and then they fall asleep in the sun. And they go inside and go, oh shit, I got burnt. And they put on way too much sunscreen. The great ritual.
It hurts. It's a little serious, you know. It's touch very good.
Do you need a thing of sunscreen?
No, man.
I've got extra.
Can't wear sunscreen until I get my PPL.
He also said he won't wear sunglasses until he gets his PPL. Well, you better shave that mustache off then. That seems like more of a certificated pilot thing.
I even have a mustache. When I was at Everest, there was a girl that insisted, like her life belief was that her whole life she thought you could only either wear sunglasses or a hat as like a style thing. She got scorched. She got scorched and she broke that. She broke that mentality with bush.
I want to know how much he thought that. It's really funny.
It's like that's so specific.
All right, so we're gonna talk about night flying today. Some of it's gonna be about airport stuff, lighting, that kind of thing. A lot of it is going to be about the human factors, aeromedical factors with flying. Particularly with your eyes. Eyes don't work good at night. Yeah, there are kind of three different definitions of nighttime in the FARs, or three different classifications for nighttime. One is just when we need to have our position lights, like when do we need to have our nighttime lighting on our aircraft? Does anyone know when that starts? When do we need to have our nighttime lights? Sunrise to sunset.
Sunset to sunrise.
Yes, that one. Sunset to sunrise. After that, we have when we can log nighttime. So for flying around and sunsets at 8 o'clock p.m. When can we start logging nighttime? No, that's a different definition.
Twilight.
Civil twilights. Yeah. Civil twilight you can find on, you could just Google it, send an almanac. Or you can go on ForeFlight and you just go to whatever airport it is you're thinking about. Here's Torrance. And then right at the top where it says Zamperini Field, Torrance, California, elevation, blah, 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 it gives the sunrise and sunset. You hit that expanding caret and it'll tell you when civil twilight is. So today, civil twilight ended at 5:20 a.m. and then started or will start at 8:36 p.m. It's usually about a half hour after sunset, about a half hour before sunrise, but not exactly. And then the last one, this is for like landing currency. So if we have to do night takeoffs and landings, that has to be 1 hour after sunset to 1 hour before sunrise. So when we're talking about night, we're using that definition right now. Boop, 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 boop. But you can log night before that, and we need our night lights for that. So it's sunset, civil twilight, hour after sunset. And then all those things before sunrise. Didn't know this. Apparently most pilots are poorly informed about night vision. I didn't know that. Human eyes never function as effectively at night as other animals. We actually have super poor vision in general compared to some animals, like the spectrums we can see. We barely see anything at night compared to other animals. So we have to know about those limitations. Okay, let's talk about how the eyes are constructed and what they need to function. So we got rods and cones in our eyes. Cones are located in the center of the retina, right in the middle. The function of the cones is to detect color and detail, primarily, as well as distance. Color, detail, distance. These might be important when you're flying. Detail, color, distance. Usually when you're looking at something, you're looking directly at it. So you're using those cones most often during the daytime, especially. If you want to focus on something, you look at it and you can see it with greater detail. But we do use rods and cones both for daytime vision. Rods are on the outside of on the periphery of our retina, around the cones. So if you see something in your peripheral vision, you're utilizing the rods. They are really good in low light situations, but they don't see color and they don't see things straight on. And that's going to be important for scanning for traffic and other things at night. Because, like I said, detail, focus, distance, those are all with cones. Rods are black and white, or non-color. And if we didn't have any rods, we wouldn't be able to see really anything at night. Cones need a lot of light in order to work. So here's a diagram of that. Rods on the outside, cones right in the center. Rods, shades of gray, cones, color, detail, focus, distance. So, because cones don't work very well at night, we're limited to using our rods. We have a bit of a blind spot when we're looking straight for something. So, for example, if I'm looking for an airport that's supposed to be at my 11 o'clock and I'm just looking for that beacon straight ahead, I won't be able to see it as well as if I looked straight ahead and tried to find it in my peripheral vision. We have it's kind of hard to see right away. Like if you didn't know you had it, you wouldn't realize that you had it. But the more time you spend flying at night, the more you'll start to actually experience this. So best vision during the day, right in front. Best vision at night is going to be in the peripheral on the sides. Oops. The size of this blind spot increases as the distance between the eye and the object increases. So as it gets further away, blind spot gets bigger. It can hide pretty large objects if they are far away. So you have to use what's called off-center viewing, off-center scanning, in order to look for traffic more effectively. Yeah, so the way they teach us to scan at night is to go off-center and kind of go up and down in little patches. So you might go at your 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and scan up and down, spend a couple seconds, 2-3 seconds, see if anything's moving. It's kind of tough to do, if I'm honest. But yeah, off-center viewing when you're scanning is necessary. Otherwise, everything that you're looking at will be in your blind spot. Another important thing when flying at night is you need to adapt your eyes. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and then gone to the bathroom and turned the light on and it absolutely blinds you? Um, that's because your eyes were adapted for night viewing, and then with big bright lights, it ruins that night vision. So when you leave the bathroom and turn the lights off, you can't see anything anymore. You made your way down the hallway just fine on the way to the bathroom. On the way back, you can't really see anything at all. So you have to wait about 30 minutes without looking at any bright white light. Red light is okay. Um, so you give yourself a lot more time to let your eyes adapt, turn down your screens in your plane, try not to look at your phone, and use red light as much as possible. After about 5 to 10 minutes, cones become adjusted to the dim light and become 100 times more sensitive to the light than they were before. So it's not that cones don't work at all at night, but they do not work nearly as effectively. You're relying mostly on your rods. And also, it's not pitch black. There is some light going on. Michael, what fuck? Mason beat you by 20 minutes. It's gotta be embarrassing, man.
That's bad.
You're the late one. Yeah, the rods also have to be adjusted to the darkness, and when they are, they're 100,000 times more effective. So cones adjust a little bit, and rods adjust 1,000 times more than cones do. After your eyes have adapted, process is reversed when you go into a lighted room, just like I was talking about before. You get blinded, but then become adjusted very, very quickly to the light. 10 seconds or something. Probably you've experienced it before. And they lose their dark adaptation. So if you go back, it's going to take that same 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30-minute process to get readjusted to the dark again. So it's best if you stay adapted to it. After the eyes are adapted to darkness, avoid exposing them for more than 1 second to any bright white light, as that causes a temporary blindness. So like I said, turn your screens off. You should, I have seen people pre-flight with a red light. That's not recommended. Some people do recommend it, but it is important that you do a thorough pre-flight that you can see. So take a longer time to pre-flight, use a white light to actually look at the important things, because how many of you have actually tried to see with just red light? Okay, just a couple people. It's tough to see. You can't see certain colors in red light very well. You can't see detail very well in red light. So you could pre-flight, look in your engine cowling and be like, okay, all the engine is there, but you won't notice that there's brake fluid that was leaking, or something along those lines. So still do a pre-flight in white light. Just know that you kind of have to take your time after that. You'll be taxiing, you'll be running up, but yeah, give it time to adapt. So have we talked about hypoxia much?
A little bit.
A little bit. What is hypoxia?
Like black box. Okay, great.
Yeah, lack of oxygen to the brain, brain, eyes, they take a lot of oxygen. It's really a lack of oxygen to any organ, but those are the ones that need the most. Our eyes, are super oxygen intensive. Does anyone remember what altitudes hypoxia tends to show up?
14,000.
Around 12,000.
12,000, yeah, it depends on the person, honestly. Uh, Around 12,000 to 15,000 is where we start having regulations on who needs to have oxygen and when. But it depends on the person. I start getting hypoxia symptoms around 11,000 feet. So I don't go much higher than 10.5 typically. But you can get, because of lower oxygen, you can start having some symptoms of hypoxia, like not being able to see very well at 5,000 feet. It's not because the oxygen is different at night. It's just that your eyes are super oxygen intensive. And normally you have both cones and rods to help you out to see during the day. Then we got rid of the primary source of vision almost completely, our cones. So even just a decrease of oxygen that you would get at 5,000 feet will start to deteriorate your night vision. So flying without oxygen on a long cross country at 9,500 feet probably wouldn't be recommended. You wouldn't get the same like poor cognitive ability, poor decision making, slow reaction time that you would with other hypoxia symptoms. But you see a lot worse. So you can use supplemental oxygen. We don't have supplemental oxygen in our planes, but there are kind of recreational oxygen canisters that you can buy. Some hikers will use them if they're mountain climbing. You can buy them at some aviation stores. But yeah, it's not going to meet the regulations for, flying at 15,000 feet. But if you're flying at night, it is nice to have a bottle of oxygen just every once in a while. Keep your eyes working good. If you do have to use bright lights, close an eye. That'll help you keep one good eye. I don't know if we talked about this. Apparently, pilots who were like trained to drop nuclear bombs had to fly with eye patches. They would go out and drop it, and then they would fly with one eye patch until their eye got fried from the intense light and they couldn't see anymore, and then they would flip the eye patch over and run off their one good eye. Won't be as dramatic as that. But yeah, if you have to look at bright lights, cover an eye. Concentrate on seeing objects. That seems pretty straightforward. But when you're concentrating on seeing an object, again, it's off center. So if I want to concentrate on John, I'm going to look right here and just in my periphery try to see, okay, John's over there. But because if I look at him, he'll kind of disappear a little bit. Night illusions. This is an interesting one. Do we have an image of it? Nope. There's an illusion called autokinesis, which can be kind of freaky when you're flying. And autokinesis is basically you see a light in the distance, and if you focus on it for too long, it'll appear to start moving. And you might confuse it for traffic or something. when it's really just a light in a fixed point. So keep your scan moving, and you won't get that illusion. This one is also pretty trippy when flying at night. False horizon. Oh, this isn't. Actually, don't think that's a good image of it. But basically, let's take Southern California, for example, because that's where we're flying. You see in the distance some mountains that have some developments on it, houses, lighting. These mountains kind of go like this, and they have all of these lights over here. If you go based off of that, your brain kind of wants you to line up with this false horizon because we have a straight line. That's normally what we're flying by. We're flying by the horizon. We're looking out. We have that straight line in front of us. But if we have that, or kind of the negative version of it, we have some black holes where there are no lights. You can start to line up with incorrect false horizons and start turning. So you have to rely on your instruments a bit more. Oh, clouds also do this quite often. Yeah, street lights, clouds, mountain lights, make false horizons. And the black hole effect. Yeah, if you're flying into an airport with not very many lights, or I've actually experienced it with perfectly well lit airports before, it's difficult to judge your height and your distance from the runway. So people can often come in very, very low. So if you haven't been to an airport before, okay, there are a lot of different factors here. Let's say scenario is we are going to an untowered airport that we haven't been to before, French Valley. We're going to French Valley, and French Valley, we do our NW craft, and we notice in the NOTAMs that their weather reporting is out of service, and their VASI lights are out of service. What kind of risks might we encounter going to this airport for the first time in the dark? Specifically with the VASI being out of service and their weather reporting ASOS being out of service.
Don't know how good visibility is.
That's a good point. We don't know what the visibility is. We don't know if it's even VFR there. That's a good point. So maybe we check a couple airports that are around there and they say sky clear, 10 statute miles, sky clear, 10 statute miles. Okay, we figured that if all those are, it's a good chance that they have some good visibility too. What else would we want to consider?
The glide slope, can't see it, right?
Yeah, we can't see the glide slope, so that helps us get a nice stable approach that clears us from obstacles. But without that, so we lost that. What else did we lose by not having weather available?
Wind direction.
Wind direction, sure. You know, we can feel that a little bit when we're coming in. Not quite as important. Winds tend to be calmer at night, not always, but tend to be calmer at night. There's one really big one. Okay, when you get to ATIS, what's the most, like, let's say you're trying to get to ATIS and I don't know, you're Yeah, without the winds, you might not know which direction is in use, but it's an untowered airport, so you can land anywhere, but yeah, that's a good point. What's the most important thing? Let's say you're monitoring ATIS in the practice area or something, and you only get a couple
Pressure
things.
off.
Well, yeah, the
Okay,
altimeter
pressure.
setting.
Yeah,
The altimeter setting. We need to know what the altimeter setting is, wind direction, and the name of the ATIS is usually the big things we definitely need to have. So if we don't have that, we just added quite a few different risks to this because we don't have a glide path. We don't know, we can't use our altimeter to kind of estimate it. Make sure that we're staying well above. And we have this black hole illusion where we tend to go in a little bit lower than normal. So what can we do to, now that we know what these risks are, what can we do to mitigate them? Does it mean that we can't fly? Maybe that's a perfectly reasonable conclusion to make. Maybe you don't have that much nighttime. Maybe you just don't fly there tonight. Maybe you go somewhere else. But let's say we wanted to go on this flight. We decided we're going to go on this flight. How can we mitigate these risks, make it safer?
Try to fly a little higher than thinking. It looks, whatever it looks like, fly a little higher than that to account for.
Intentionally fly higher. I like that. We could fly over the runway as well. You know, maybe maybe let's say that they have a 5,000 foot runway. Maybe we don't aim for the numbers. Maybe we aim for something a little bit further than that. But yeah, it can be tough to judge distance. Once you get to about 100 feet or so, the lights on your plane should start illuminating it. But okay, we already talked about lighting. What frequency do we use for pilot controlled lighting at any airport? CTAF, yeah, CTAF or advisory, as it's called sometimes. Yeah, do CTAF. 7 clicks gets you high intensity, 5 clicks gives you medium, 3 for low. And we talked about before, 7 clicks can be pretty blinding right as you're taking off. So maybe keep it down to 5 or even 3 clicks. Come up. Typically, I just use 7 clicks if I'm far away and I want to find the runway. But I'll bring it down when I get closer. Okay, here's some good suggested equipment to bring with you at night. Flashlights with a white and red light. White light for pre-flighting, red light for reading stuff in the plane. I go full dad mode and I just wear a hiking lamp on my head that has a red light. Oh, yeah, headlamp. Flashlight, headlamp, paper charts. If you don't have paper charts, at least bring backups. Have everything you need both on your phone and on your iPad. But paper charts are also helpful in a worst case scenario. We need certain equipment at night. 91205 lists that. So we have A tomato flames. A tomato flames is for day VFR. And then for night VFR, we have flaps. So on our plane, we have to have equipped and operating fuses or breakers. What do we have in our plane? Fuses or breakers? Breakers. Landing light if for higher. Now, I don't want to get into the commercial aspects of this, but technically we are not for hire. We're not transporting people or property for money. Flight instruction is its own separate thing. So do we need landing lights? Not according to 91.205. What else do we have to abide by though?
Okay, we go.
Our KOEL, and our KOEL does list landing lights as well. Anti-collision lights, so that's either like a red beacon or our strobe lights. Position lights are red and green lights. And our source of power. So we need a generator or an alternator, which we couldn't get off the ground if we didn't have those. I guess technically we could, but we wouldn't be in the air for long. You should have at least one reliable flashlight. Have a flashlight that's not your phone. Just keep it in your flight bag. You can break your phone. You can break a flashlight too, but it's good to have a spare. LED flashlights that can produce both red and white. Blue for chart reading. That's interesting. Yeah, I did notice that when I did fly at night, the paper chart, it was kind of hard to read with a red light. So I guess blue would be helpful for that. I just used a white light and closed one of my eyes. Use the white light for pre-flight. And red light is used for in-flight viewing because it won't ruin your night vision. That's the biggest thing about red light. It's not going to ruin your night vision. And you can see good enough to write down instructions, read them again, that sort of thing. These are our nav lights. So here's a PPL test question that you should be able to figure out from the slide. If I see a white flashing light next to a red light in front of me, where is that plane in relation to me? Right to left, they're crossing. What if I see both a red and a green light? Coming straight at you. Yep. Red on left, green on right. I can't tell you how many times I mixed this up when I was working on my PPL. I couldn't think of a good way to remember that green is on the right, red is on the left. So the best I could come up with was red sounds like left, red left, green right. Okay, so position lights, sunset to sunrise. Doesn't hurt to have them on earlier. In fact, if you know you're going to be flying at night, like the sun is setting while you're flying, turn them on when you remember to turn them on. So if that's a half hour beforehand, just go ahead and turn them on early. Let's say we never thought to put our position lights on. What would be a way that we could guarantee to not forget to put those position lights on? What's a 100% fail-safe way of remembering to put our position lights on before we land? Checklist. Same with our cruise checklist. Most don't, and I need to get into a better habit of doing this on long cross countries. But that cruise checklist should be done every hour. You go through your cruise checklist. Basically, every time you switch tanks, you check your instruments again, go through your cruise checklist. Hey, is it getting dark soon or something like that? Throw on the lights that you need. But yeah, checklist will help you with that. Beacon light prior to start any anytime you start day or night, what's our beacon light?
The strobe.
Yeah, strobe light. So it could be a red beacon. In our case, it's a strobe light. Any collision lights, all times, day and night, unless they could be a safety hazard to another aircraft. Landing lights turn on for takeoff, taxi, and landing operations. Is there any other time that we would want landing lights on in our plane specifically? Yeah. If our plane has a placard on it that says fly with landing and taxi lights at all times. Does anyone know why we fly with our landing and taxi lights at all times? Yeah, increased visibility. That's a good answer. Let me ask you this way. Would it be,
Is it so you don't, I guess, overcharge your battery?
yeah, we have, yeah, so with especially when our generators are new, they produce quite a bit of electricity, more than our battery can take. So flying with a little excess load to get it to zero is good. In fact, if you see that your plane is consistently at +1 amps all the time, go ahead, throw all the lights on. And then also turn on your landing lights if you haven't had them on already. You're in some other plane below 10,000 feet and within 10 miles of any airport. That's a suggestion. It's not mandatory. It's not a regulation, but it's just increased visibility. And if you're flying around here, you're basically always within 10 miles of an airport and always below 10,000 feet. So. We already talked about, I believe we already talked about airport lighting. White and green are the airports that we're going to be landing at 99.9% of the time. White and yellow is a water-based airport, a seaport, seaplane airport. Heliport is the same as a civilian land airport, but they add a yellow one in there. And then a military airport is 2 whites and a green. Also, this is definitely a PPL written test question. Airport lighting. Now, let's say you're flying around at night, and hey, some of your G3X fails, your GPS isn't working very well. You have to use a beacon to identify the airport that you're looking for, and you can't remember what lights you're looking for. You think it's white and green, but you're not quite sure. You're not 100%. You don't want to accidentally land at a military airport. How can you know for sure when you're already in the plane? It's on your checklist. If you look at the bottom of your checklist, there's a handy little chart on there that shows it should be, actually, maybe it's not on the new checklist. It shows light gun signals. Does it also show? Oh, it doesn't. Okay, you just have to remember this then. Yeah, I was thinking of the light gun signals. White and green are the most common ones you're going to see. Double white and green is a military airport. You're not going to see a whole lot of white and yellow ones. There aren't a lot of water-based airports, or rather, they'll be both. Some coastal airports will have a spot for both. And yeah, heliports have all three. Pre-flighting at night. Actually, let's see. Let's take a little break. Be back at 10 o'clock. And we'll pick this up.
Tomorrow.
School. Yeah, fun. From the nose even. More this. Yeah, I feel like I just started. Yeah, yeah. I did my first cross country tonight, but huh? Dude, like, it's so different, yeah. I thought like both lines to the new position, now I felt like it's. I'm like, what, it's like, yeah, and all I can't get. Are you on to the next one? Yeah. Where are you going? Mark. Want to stand there and be there?
I saw
You're
that.
on free solo. Let's go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's see if I get started. Work out. Fucking bad juju. We call it witch doctor too.
Is his back still out?
Huh?
Is his back still out?
No, he just got it down. We went home for. But I'm not back. I'm just solo from. Must be. Or as. Yeah, same.
Night with Neil?
Mhm.
Oh, good. He must have gotten 50 hours.
Yeah, maybe.
Good. You're not allowed to take pre-solo students if you haven't given at least 50 hours of dual instruction.
Not technically. So.
Well, you passed your solo phase check, but you didn't. So, right?
Technically.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm think we did it.
Oh no, man.
Trust me, you and Flo. You ready to play Ramona today?
Yeah, we're going just Ramona then to what's it called? The other one, right? From that.
No.
Allen,
Yeah.
same, yeah. Okay. But then for my destination, I just put it as Ramona, right? But that's where it's,
Like in the logbook?
yeah, under,
Your destination is Torrance.
but then.
And then every airport you land in, you put in the route.
Because then we just look up equations, so we can write down the steps, or the other side of the wheel.
Yeah, the non-wind side, yeah, we can review that again. That's what all of the next 2 weeks are gonna be.
Yeah.
It's
The
review.
equations, the way you did it for the wind, I think the equation for the other side.
Okay.
Like, for this thing, what the steps are.
Sure.
So. The passing balls.
Talking to the 3 days. When I heard that song, tomorrow, I was like her party song and stuff. Interesting. Which did you play today, on?
Check.
Do you wanna fly 11:30?
Yeah. Do you wanna play later?
Yeah. Well, to 5,
It's fine, that's like, so.
Let me see what's like.
3 or 4 hours.
You guys are funny with it.
It's like, what this?
Like I didn't like do enough.
Did you say you want to? I didn't.
Well, Mario gave me homework, and I feel like I didn't do enough. It's gonna smack my hand.
Yeah, I'd love to go home and sleep. Why not? You're over for me.
All day.
Yeah, all day, from like 6 a.m. to 10.
I got some like shredders and gas.
Oh, was it a long line?
Dude, actually, no.
Oh,
Where'd you cross from?
Mexicali.
oh, that's better than TJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or with I, yeah.
Even at the Mexicali, we like super lucked out because they had like 3 lines. And just the way Google Maps took us, it entered us into the furthest right line. And the other 2 lines were backed up for miles. And the furthest right line had 0 traffic.
You're not supposed to go through that.
It's if you have a pass.
Yeah. Did I tell you anything?
They didn't stop you?
I've done that before. Maybe because you're white. But I've done that before. And they said
It's for
next time,
people with the pass.
if you don't have that pass, they would take your license plate down and everyone's information. If you pass through there again, it's a $5,000 fine. Without that,
that's the
yes.
If you would
So you
have
didn't
looked,
luck out.
if you would have looked up, it would have
There's a
said
sign.
like lane 3 is only for pass members or something.
Yeah, that's what, you have to have a pass to go through that lane. And so I did that before and never did it again, sure. I never went through that way anyway, but
So my question now is,
just don't do it again. Did you give a warning?
no, they didn't say anything.
Were you driving? When you
You
crossed?
got a number to call?
No.
So, do you think?
Oh, sorry.
Do you think they were weird?
Yeah, everyone's on camera when you go through there.
Well, yeah, it's recorded, but like, do you think?
Like, how would he get
specifically-
notified?
Do you think?
So don't do it again.
Well, like.
They
did
give
that
you a
count?
warning once, okay?
But I didn't get them.
I know, but that's probably your warning. If you go again and you go through that line again, you will get a fine in the mail. Whoever that plate is registered to, you will get a $5,000.
Maybe you'll get a warning in the mail.
That was like a big thing in the news too. People like they didn't know and they just started and they don't care. They're gonna say you $5,000 fine. It could go up to 10.
It's like a dual citizenship pass.
Yeah, it's like you
Or
have
like a work pass.
yeah, the people that like live in the States or
There was not a single sign.
yeah, there was. You probably missed it. There
No,
was.
I think all the signs.
I'm gonna look. And
Hey,
there's
which
three,
one-
and the
which
one
ones
to
you-
the right that was separate from the rest of them.
Well, they were all separate.
John, what time do you fly today?
And
But
maybe
all
you
the
did.
lines had like barriers. And there was no way for me to enter any other.
Yeah, once you get into the line, you can't get out of it. So you gotta know where you're going into. So if you were in the
Like
correct
what I'm
line,
saying,
maybe you were fine.
so the way it was set up was
Are
that
you planning on going back?
there was 2 lines going like this, then there was a 3rd line that ended like this. And just where I was driving from, and so we.
Was
I
there
don't
any
know
other
where
lanes to your
that
right?
Oh yeah, it was 2 lanes to the right, but I couldn't,
They were empty
the way that
or they were full.
they're full.
It's called.
And that's the
a
weird trick. I talked to the guy. When I
Yeah,
talked-
Century, the century line.
when I talked to the guy, I was like, he was like, how long did you wait? I was like, we didn't wait at all. And he was like, yeah, people don't know to come to the right.
And you might have been in the right line, but if you went through the century line, they normally give you a warning. And the next time you go through that again, they won't give you a $5,000 fine.
You will pass the commercial truck lane. The entry was returning right to the border and stay on the right side is far left lane is reserved for. The far, was it far left lane or? Oh, then I think he's fine. The far left lane is the century line.
And Mexicali.
Might be.
Yeah, there weren't any signs. At one point it said it was a bus lane. But there weren't any bus lanes. So it's.
I think we should over there. Be careful. Over that track. Why?
Parking lot.
Hell no.
No, lots of people do it.
Could do
Yeah,
that.
I know, but
TJ.
TJ, yeah. No. I go to Baja. Well, I mean, I'll drive to TJ, that's not a problem, it's 4 hour drive. Then I'm saying like, going to Baja and go wherever you want, I just fly.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was some plastics. That's great.
Yeah. No, usually, I think the most I've ever spent in the line, off the border, like 7.5 hours.
That's. Was that a TJ?
That was TJ. It was like a holiday weekend that I was like long weekend.
It's like hours.
Across the border. There's certain times where you should know to cross, and that was like my one learning experience.
Especially after a month.
Yeah, you either gotta go like, you go to like, you get 2 in the morning. Or
I know, it's still early.
Going somewhere.
now it's time to go to bed, for bath break.
Okay.
I'm wondering why Eric. I'm working out scheduling my face check. I don't know if that was why he was in there. Cause it can only be with Eric or Paul.
Right. No, if he needed to, he would just say something. We can start.
Yeah. Oh wait, here we go. 3 to 5.
We need to text him and just ask for me.
I just told him last time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't matter to him.
Here's a couple other special considerations for flying at night. One I said before, thorough pre-flight. Take your time, don't rush it. Things can be missed a lot easier in the dark. If it's this time of year, you might be pretty tired coming to the flight, and especially after the flight, because you can't really, nighttime doesn't really start until like 9:30 or so. Yeah, more attention to detail in the pre-flight. Use pay special consideration to the weather. A lot of times, even at towered airports, there will not be, like Torrance closes at 8. Lots of towered airports close around 8, 9, 7 o'clock even. And if they have an ATIS, they're not going to have weather anymore. Weirdly enough, untowered airports, they have a AWOS or ASOS. Those are automatic. They'll keep going. But basically, you're in the dark on your weather when you're coming in there. So pay attention to the forecasts, because especially in this area, what happens at night temperature wise?
It cools down.
It cools down. Okay. And what happens when we have warm, moist air and then the temperature cools?
Convection fog.
Yeah, or any kind of fog. That's always what happens when, for fog or clouds, is when the temperature and dew point spread meet. So pay special consideration to what the temperature dew point spread is now and what it's forecasted to be. Yeah, and always have an alternate in mind because of that. Night flights are always a gamble, just being able to come back to Torrance. You can pay attention to the forecasts and everything, but there's a small chance, sometimes a medium-sized chance, that by the time you get back, the field's going to be IFR. You're not going to be able to get in anymore. So have an alternate that's likely to have better weather. Yeah.
Is there like a specific boundary for like the, or way to predict the temperature dew point spread? Like if it's up within 10, is that like a good safe blanket or?
Yeah, depends on what the temperature is going to go down to. But 10 would be very safe. I start getting concerned when it's more than like 4 degrees off, because it can cool further. And
So if it's within 4, that's not, for you, that's like when you.
that's me. You'd probably get different answers from different pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah, have an alternate, have a plan. Also, along those lines, if you're going on really any cross country, but particularly a night cross country, prepare to spend the night. you're not going to, most likely, but bring your bare minimum stuff. If you have contacts, bring your contact case and a pair of glasses. Bring a toothbrush. There's always a chance that you can get stuck somewhere, even during the day, where you just, you do your pre-flight after you're about to take off, go home, and we have an oil leak and we can't go anywhere. It might not be able to get picked up, might not be close enough for an Uber. So just bring along the bare essentials that you need: phone charger, contacts, toothbrush, that sort of thing. Emphasis should be placed on wind direction and speed, since effect on the airplane cannot be easily detected at night as during the day. Yeah, I suppose. With our setup, we're typically going to be navigating using a course of some kind, either a GPS course or a VOR course, because we can't see visual waypoints very well at all. So if you're on a course, that kind of automatically corrects for the wind. If you're getting blown off, your needle will become deflected and you fly toward the needle, you'll get on there. And as far as coming into land or taking off, well, how do you find out what your wind is when you're taking off? At night.
ATIS.
No ATIS.
So.
Windsock, yeah. And in fact, you can do that when you're coming in, even if you don't see anything, or even if you are landing there. Most windsocks, although not all, are lighted and you can see them. It's tough to see. You have to fly over midfield, check it out. But if you saw that, hey, the winds are forecasted to be kind of strong or variable or something, you can check that by flying over midfield. But yeah, the closer you get to the ground, the more you'll be able to notice the wind direction and its effect. On night cross-country flights, use charts. Okay, that makes sense. If you're using a paper map, draw it dark. It's hard to see with that red light. If you're flying without reference to GPS or VORs, which is really difficult at night, make sure that your visual waypoints can be seen at night. A lake is not a very good visual waypoint at night because it's just kind of a black hole. You can't tell the difference between that and a swamp and a field or just some like rocky forested area. Mountains look actually, what's really crazy, mountains look like lakes. All you see is there's no light there, and your brain tells you it's just like I don't know, it's a lake or something like that. Because you can't see anything, but actually it's sticking out very much out of the ground. So yeah, any mountains that aren't lighted look like lakes typically, but you got to use something that you can see. So what are some things that you could see at night that would make decent visual waypoints? Lights? There are a lot of lights out there. How can we tell which lights are what?
See like buildings or.
Buildings? Yeah, sometimes if they're lighted, you know what they look like, huh?
Antennas?
Antennas? Yeah. Hmm?
Freeways.
Freeways, yeah, freeways are really good. Particularly intersections on freeways. You can see those really well. In fact, that's basically all you all you can see consistently. It's both going to be on a map and you can see at night. I'm sure there are some exceptions. That's about it. Additionally, use VORs. use GPS. And check that the maps on the plane are current and correct. So, you know, when you start up the plane and both on the G3X and on the G650, they have like menus and you just automatically go, okay, continue, 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 and that's it. Well, that's telling you if your maps are up to date or not. So take a look and see if they're expired, because if they're expired, the airspaces aren't up to date. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes those change. The Hawthorne airspace just changed recently. And yeah, make sure all of those are up to date. Emergencies. If the engine fails at night, it is what you do immediately is no different from what you do during the day. What's the first thing you do if you lose your engine? Everyone, what's the first thing you do? Pitch for 72. Next thing? Best landing. Yep. And then you can start going through your checklist to do a restart. Same thing as at night. And the thing to remember, besides your A, B, C, D, E, airspeed, best place to land, checklist, declare, execute, is the other memory aid, aviate, navigate, communicate. Maintain positive control of the aircraft first before you start doing any of this other stuff. Because I could totally see a situation where you want to do your flow, but you don't have your cabin light on and you can't see what the switches say, and your flashlight is in your bag, so you're reaching back there and you're, you know, maybe starting to panic a little bit. Fly the plane first. Same thing in any situation. Go arounds, emergencies, confusing instructions, fly the plane first. Determine the cause of the malfunction. If time is permitting, do your restart procedures or troubleshooting procedures. Use your checklist. Declare on proper frequency. What's the proper frequency? What does that mean?
Whatever frequency you're near, I guess.
1215.
Well, 1215, that's a really good, that's monitored all the time. The guard frequency, 1215. But if we're on a normal cross country, for those of you who've been on cross countries, aren't you talking to someone already?
Roach.
Yeah, whoever you're talking to right now, unless it's like, I don't know, the CTAF at an untowered airport that no one's at, well, then maybe you need to get a different frequency. But if you're talking to a controller, that is the proper frequency. Use that one, they can help you. Turn toward an unlighted area to perform a forced landing. I'm going to slightly disagree with that. So what I'll say is in this space, this region, everything's lit. Everything that's not ocean is lit, unless you're out in the desert somewhere. I would agree with that if you're out in the middle of the desert or you're out in a rural place somewhere. But in Southern California, every bit of land is lit, except for the places that are so rocky and mountainous that you can't perch a mansion on top of it. So there's no lights there. If you go towards something that is unlit on land, it's probably going to be a mountain or a hill of some kind. So in this region, I probably would not do that. I would be looking first, where should we be landing? What's the best landing spot if we have an emergency?
Airport.
An airport. how can you find out if you're within gliding distance of an airport or where the nearest airport is quickly in the plane?
Direct to.
Direct to, yeah. This direct to button right here. That'll bring up a list of the closest airports. Also, if you press and hold that, it can activate the Smart Glide feature. So what Smart Glide does is if your autopilot is on, your autopilot has to be on, it'll automatically pitch you for 72 and start turning you toward the closest suitable airport. Now, if you can't make it to that airport, then you'll be, deviating from that. But it is a really good way to shed some of the load so you can focus on troubleshooting and that sort of thing. So yeah, airports first. This is why pre-flight planning is especially important during night cross countries because it's hard enough to land off field in Southern California. It's especially hard to do it at night. So, staying as close to airports is important. Choosing a route that, even if it's not direct, takes you over a bunch of different airports is going to be the best thing that you can do. Cross countries can be a little boring, if I'm honest. Sometimes you have like an hour and a half, 2 hours of basically just going in a straight line, more or less. So talk about it. Okay, we're passing an airport, passing whatever, Chino. This would be a good landing spot. And then after Chino, we'll be in distance of Riverside or whatever. Talk about where you're going to land. Same thing if you're in a mountainous area or areas where there aren't a lot of airports. Pick out good landing spots, just in the same way that you pick out planes and show traffic avoidance. Pick out landing spots. That would be a good landing spot. That would be a good landing spot. Here's the closest airport. Try to do close to places where you can get help. That'd be like roads. In fact, if I'm like going up the coast at night and there's no airport along the way, I'm probably gonna try to land on PCH. I'm gonna go with traffic. If it's at 11 p.m. away from major cities, I think there's a pretty good chance that I could land it around cars. And our approach to landing speed, about 70 knots or so. That's like 80 miles an hour. We could even slow it down to, we're basically going to be at the speed of traffic and have like 3 lanes or so, what, maybe 3 lanes, 4 lanes? PCH? PCH, like if you're going up to San Luis Obispo or something. Yeah. If you're around here, you'll be landing at an airport. But anyway, think about that while you're doing your pre-flight planning. Where are all my emergency landing spots? Okay, so this was pretty short, so I want to do a couple things. One, if you don't know this channel, Wi-Fi CFI is a really good one. It helps CFIs put together lesson plans, but it's also really good for anyone learning it because it's putting all the information in a clear and concise place. Wi-Fi CFI, it's also a website. Check it out. There's lots of really good information on it. So we're going to watch this video. Then after that, Laura's request, we are going to go over the backside of the E6B and write down instructions step by step on how to use it. Well, half the class is going, thank you. And the other half is like, I wanted to, I don't know, what would we do? Gotta do something. All right, Mike, will you grab the lights? Any questions on this? It seems pretty straightforward compared to what we were talking about last week, right? Really quick. What's a cone? Someone tell me what cones are. In your own words. Don't have to be perfect.
Detects color. Detects color.
Cones detect color. What else do they detect? Yep.
The distance as well.
Distance, color, focus. If I want to see in good detail, I have to look at the thing. I can see in my peripheral vision people moving around, but obviously I can't tell if they're wearing glasses or something like that. What about rods? What are rods good at? Hmm? Yep, they're in your peripheral vision. What else?
Low light.
Low light situations. Don't see color. Yeah. Give me a couple of ways you can get or preserve night vision. Anything off the top of your head. Talked about a lot of them.
Shutting one eye.
Shutting one eye if you have to use bright lights. Good.
Red light.
Red light, help you preserve it. What else?
Night mode on the iPad.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, yeah, you will turn down your screens on night flights. Do the 7 a.m. student pilot cross country student who has the plane afterward a favor and turn the brightness back up when you shut the plane down. Yeah, I had that happen to me a couple times. And every time you start a 7 a.m. flight, you're like, okay, if you don't know that it's menu, twist, 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 boop, twist, 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 then it's almost impossible to get through it. You can't see it at all during the day. So do the next pilot a favor and turn the screens back up when you get on the ground. When does altitude start to affect your night vision? 5,000 feet. Yeah, which isn't very high. And good. I did say earlier that I kind of disagreed with the try to land at a non-lit place. I'm gonna walk that back a little bit. You can tell if it's an odd shape that's like mountains, it's terrain of some kind. In fact, you can probably see on your chart, or if you put on the G650, doesn't show here, but there is a terrain feature. This is what I like to have when I'm night flying. There's a terrain feature which will show you like where the terrain is ahead of you. So you can check that. But if you see like a big rectangle, that could be a park. If you see a big blob, that's probably mountains. Okay. Let's put a pin in this. And we'll talk about E6Bs. Who has one with them? Everyone, some of you, half of you? Luckily, this backside, at least in my opinion, on the two things you're going to be using this for most often, is the easiest side to use. Because it's one step and then you read it. There's also like density altitude calculations you can do. We don't need to worry about that right now. I don't even know what to call this side. This is the wind side. I don't know what to call this side. I always just call it the non-wind side. Let's say the what?
Like,
Flight planning side. The calculator side. Yeah, let's go with that. Calculator. Okay. So the two main things you're going to be using this for, really, I use it for just one thing, but you can use it for two of them, is finding out your fuel burn. So in order to do that, we need to find out how long each leg in our flight plan is going to take in minutes, and then we can use that to find out how many gallons that individual leg is going to make, and then we can add all those up to find out what our fuel burn should be for the entire flight. So we have two different parts of this. We have the inside and the outside. What does the outside represent? We talked about this last week. Distance. And what does the inside represent? Time. If you get confused, repeat that to yourself. Time on the inside, distance on the outside. Distance, I guess also gallons. All right, so we use the wind side to take our true airspeed and our winds and find out what our ground speed is going to be. We've done ground speed for every single leg that we have. So now we're going to take that information, we're going to take our ground speed and find out how long each of these legs is going to be, because we know how far we're going, because we've plotted it out. So the distance side, we have our leg. Let's say it's 14 miles. We'll say that we're going 14 miles on this leg. Someone give me a ground speed. What's our ground speed?
95.
95 knots ground speed. So, step one. Line up the 60 that says rate under here, big black triangle. Line up the 60 with your ground speed, because 60 represents minutes, 60 minutes. So you line up 60 minutes with 95. Does everyone know how to read 95? We have 70, 80, 90, and then 10. So 10 is like 100. So 90, and then you count up from there, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. Okay, so line up. Okay, everyone follow that so far? We've only moved it once. We're just lining up our 60 minutes on the inside with whatever our ground speed is, and that happens to be 95 in this case. So then all we have to do now is read it. It's all done. We don't touch it anymore. So, what did we say? It was 14 miles. So now we just find our distance on the outside and read the time on the inside. So someone tell me how long it would take to go 14 miles roughly.
Yeah. Wait, what was that?
How long would it take us to go 14 miles, which is on the outside? How long would it take us to go 14 miles at that speed? You read the number on the inside and it will tell you.
An hour and a half? Oh,
The black numbers. What's that?
an hour and a half.
No.
Miles?
No. So I'm not talking about these blue times right here. I'm talking about the black numbers.
It'd be like 9 minutes.
9 minutes. Yep. That makes sense. So the same way so basically this is telling us if we can go 60, let's bring up this one. Okay, so so first step, we're lining up. All right, watch this. We're lining up 60 with 95. We all got that step. Now all we have to do is read it. So we find whatever the distance is for that leg on the outside. So in this case, it's 14. 14 is our distance, 14 nautical miles. And then just like this is saying, we'll go 95 nautical miles in 60 minutes. We'll go 14 nautical miles in 9 minutes. To go 24 nautical miles, it'll be about 15 minutes. To go, let's see, 4.5 nautical miles, because this is decimals too. 4.5 nautical miles, it'll take us just under 3 minutes. So we just find whatever our distance is on the outside. If it's 70 miles, it'll take us about 45 minutes. If it's 7 miles, it'll take us about 4.5 minutes. Everyone tracking with this? Yes? No? I see a couple people shaking heads.
For the miles under 10. How are you doing those?
Like this. So any mile under 10, let's say it's 7. Remember, every part of this works in decimals. So any of these numbers can represent, 70 could represent 7, it could represent 0.7, it could represent 700. We just have to move the decimal place for the other one. So if we have 7 miles that we're going, we would go over to 70. And under here it says 45. But we know that if we're using this 70 as a 7, 45 doesn't make sense anymore. It would be 4.5. Would it make sense if we're going 95 knots that we go 70 miles in 7 miles in 45 minutes? You basically walk 7 miles in 45 minutes. Well, I could run 7 miles in 45 minutes. But yeah, all you do, find the distance. So if we're going 120 miles, how long would that take us? 120 miles. Can you see it on the screen? About 75 minutes. Okay. What about 12 miles? 7.5 minutes. You see how that works? You can use either of them. Okay. Let's say we're going 111 knots ground speed. So in 60 minutes, we're going 111 nautical miles. So now we can take any distance and find out how long it's going to take us. We just have to read it. So how long would it take us to go 55 miles? Yeah, 29, 30, something like that. So this would be 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. This would be 29 right here. I think it's a little bit close to 30. So I'd probably say 30. Okay, how long would it take us to go 8 miles? You just look at the distance on the outside, line it up with the time on the inside. So what time does this say? To go 8 miles. Yeah, and for these purposes, at least round up to half. 4.5 minutes. Do we need to do more of these?
Step 2.
Yeah, so step 2. Gonna use all the colors. Step 2. Read. Find your distance on the outside. Read time on the inside. That's it. There's 2 steps. All right. I need a volunteer, otherwise I'm gonna have to pick someone. Who wants to be the sacrificial lamb? Mason, get up here.
From what, from.
So all you do is grab the inside and move it around.
All right.
That's it.
Let's chill. Let's chill.
All right. Someone give a ground speed. What's our ground speed? 60. Yeah, we got a big headwind. Okay, so that's that's pretty dang lined up. Let's do a different one. Let's do a 72. Okay, great. That's all the moving you have to do. Now all you have to do is read it. So how long, Mason, would it take to go 14 miles?
Would take it would be right here. Bam, what up? Wait,
So
my
yeah. So distance is on the inside or the outside?
distance on the outside.
Distance on the outside. So you read your time on the inside.
Like
So what does that say?
11.7.
11.7
minutes.
minutes. Yeah, I'd round it to 11 and a half. 11 and a half minutes. And what if it was 6 miles? How long would it take?
Is it 5 minutes?
5 minutes, because it wouldn't be 50 minutes. Great. That's it. Very, very, very easy. Thank you, Mason.
We do gas too, or like fuel.
Yeah, so, okay. Same thing. I'm gonna have you sit up there. So now, instead of distance, the outside represents gallons. So we go to 5 or 50.
You said
And
outside represents gallons?
yeah, so outside's gonna represent gallons because it's blank per minute. Okay, so in 60 minutes, we burn 5 gallons. Now, all we do is read it. So we find out whatever the time is. So let's say it takes,
So for every 12 minutes, we burn a gallon essentially.
yeah, so go to 24.
For every 2 minutes we burn. I mean, yeah, every 2 minutes we burn.
No, every 24 minutes, we burn 2
2
gallons.
gallons. That's not bad.
Gallons on the outside, minutes on the inside. I think it's a little bit tricky to find these smaller decimals on here. So I like to use just a regular calculator, but you can use this. So tell me, Mason, before you go, in 13, if the leg takes 13 minutes, how many gallons are we gonna burn?
1.8 gallons. Wait, no, 1.1, whatever.
Yeah, a little less than
A little less
1.1.
than 1.08.
Okay. And how about it takes us 9 minutes. The leg is 9 minutes long. How many gallons will we burn? And show where you're looking at with the mouse.
You said 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Burn 0.75 gallons.
Okay, 9 minutes, 0.75 gallons. That makes sense? Otherwise, you can still use that formula of 5 gallons divided by 60. That'll get you 0.083 or something like that. I forget exactly. Can someone do it real quick? It's something like that. 0.08. What is it?
0.083.
Yeah. So in 60 minutes, 5 gallons an hour, then it would be in 1 minute would be 0.083 gallons times minutes. So I find that to be easier and a little more accurate. Or I just get my gallons per minute and then multiply it by the amount of minutes. But you definitely can use the E6B for that if you think that's easier. And that's it for that part. Before we go, I want to introduce one more thing because I was looking through the slides and we don't have a whole lot on performance calculations. Like actually finding what our density altitude and what that does to us. So I'm going to introduce you to something called the Koch chart. Interactive Koch chart. And basically what you can do is enter in your airport. We'll enter in Torrance. Can someone tell me what the temperature is here at Torrance right now? What is the ATIS say?
20 Celsius.
20 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I'm going to put that temperature in there, 20. It's always going to give this error. Don't worry about it. So let's put it at 15 real quick. What's 15 degrees Celsius? 60. Well, yeah, it's our standard temperature. So standard temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. Not really any change here. But it's 20 degrees right now. So the performance calculations that we have in our POH are set for standard pressure and standard temperatures. So we change the temperature to something non-standard, like it is right now, and it'll just tell us what we have to do to make those corrections. So this is saying we will have a 6% decrease in our rate of climb. So we can look up what our rate of climb is. Let's say our rate of climb is, we determined through everything, our rate of climb is going to be about 700, let's say. So we got our rate of climb of 700. We decrease our rate of climb by 6%. So I'll show you two different ways. You can either multiply this by 0.06, 6%, and that will show you our decrease. So 700 is what it would be normally, but we're going to get 42 feet per minute less than that, which would be 658 feet per minute. Or if you want to do just one tiny little mental math step, if we're decreasing it by 6%, we can also multiply it by 0.94. So 700 times 0.94. So we're missing that 6%, in other words. 658 feet per minute. Pretty easy. If we were at 32 degrees Celsius, it goes up even further. 40. Even more. Let's go to, what's Big Bear again? Let's go to a higher altitude airport where it's going to matter more. Big Bear.
What is this called?
The Koch chart, K-O-C-H. Some people call it a coach chart, but I know the Koch brothers are spelled K-O-C-H, so I think it's pronounced Koch.
It's like the standard site to use. Everyone uses.
This is a way of doing it. We'll talk about another way of doing it tomorrow, if you remind. L35. So this is Big Bear. Big Bear has the runway altitude is 5,850 feet. Mountainous airport. So if it were 40 degrees there, we need to decrease our rate of climb by, oh shoot. Hold on, I need to go back because I just taught you something incorrectly. Everyone listen, because I did something incorrect. So when you're using the Koch chart, this is based off of a standard day at your sea level rate of climb. So we shouldn't have been using 700, we should have been using 800. That's our sea level rate of climb, 800 feet per minute. So you use whatever your POH says. So it'll be 800 feet per minute at sea level on a standard day. And we would use that calculation. So sorry about that. Now we can do that with our mountainous airport on a very hot day. Our rate of climb is going to decrease by 79%. So 800 times 0.21 is what we have left over. Our rate of climb is going to be 168 feet per minute, which is not going to be very much at all. Our service ceiling, like as defined, our service ceiling is when you can't climb more than 100 feet per minute. So basically, right after we take off, we're going to be at our service ceiling and we can't climb anymore. This is why we need to do density altitude calculations, because our plane is going to perform very differently in higher altitudes with heat. Okay, okay. Engine RPM is the system to look at tonight. If I'm honest, I would probably rather you look at cross-country stuff tonight if you're still needing to work on that, spend your time on that. And if you come across any questions, like always, no one's really taking me up on it. Bring it up at the beginning of class. If you come across something you don't understand, we'll talk about it. If you have a question about it, probably someone else does too. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow.